Well, Turnip Head Ford finally did it. He finally forced Trump to stop all negotiations with regards to any sort of trade deal. So I'll be talking about that today on my my ride and rant, and I'm just headed up to feed my my local watchdog. That it's a sad situation this dog is in, but it's been here for years, and yeah, so I'm gonna do that right now. What you doing, Shaka? Are you cold, buddy? Here you go. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah. Yeah, he's a good boy. Here. Oh, one more. There you go. He's a good boy. Have a good day, Shaka. So this dog, he's neglected by its owners. It's I don't know, roofing waterproofing company, and I think he has a doghouse. I think he has a doghouse back in there, but I'm not sure. And this building here, it's a different building, so he has no access to that. But I know someone that comes by and feeds him once a day, 7 days a week in the summer, a good meal. And he once the weather starts getting colder, this person feeds him twice a day. So he's well fed and watered. So I come by when I'm in the neighborhood to give him a treat. At first I couldn't even get near him because he wanted to eat me, but I can pet him now. Anyhow, thought I'd show you my buddy Shaka. Well, Trump finally pulled the trigger with regards to halting trade negotiations with Canada. Now, I anticipated this was going to happen because it's all a plan. It's all orchestrated. I truly believe that Donald Trump and Mark Carney are in this together. Now, Doug Ford, the one that took out the $74 or $75 million ad campaign targeting tariffs in the US by using 1987 speech on tariffs by Ronald Reagan, then President Ronald Reagan. Now, Donald Trump's statement, which I'll put in this video, it outlines that the footage used was altered, and it was used to make Ronald Reagan's speech a little more incendiary towards Donald Trump's vision of tariffs. So in Donald Trump's official press statement, he said that they're pulling negotiations with Canada based on the altering of Ronald Reagan's '87 speech. So now, I think it was $75 million. $75 million for an ad campaign to more or less, like I watched the ad campaign, and I'll put it in the description, the actual video. I watched the ad campaign, and you know what? It's professionally done ad campaign, obviously. And I understand they got to pay for airtime down in the U.S. $75 million. Wow. Mayor Chow is asking for $107 million from the federal government to house illegal immigrants. That $75 million might have gone a long way to help that, as opposed to her threatening to raise house taxes again. So now, Mark Carney, leading up to the elections, the federal elections, started this campaign of elbows up, which is the gayest thing I've ever heard in my life. And then you got people walking around leading up to this election, flapping their arms like a chicken. So Donald Trump supported Mark Carney's bid for the Prime Minister's office. He endorsed him. He went on record to say that Pierre Poilievre is not a good man. So, as it turns out, Mark Carney got elected as Prime Minister. And every time that you see Mark Carney and Donald Trump together, Donald Trump is always propping Mark Carney up, saying he's doing a great job. And Mark Carney just sits there like the little, I don't know, the little beta effeminate man that he is with his legs crossed, just nodding his head and agreeing with everything Trump says. He hasn't once remotely defended Canada when he's in the presence of Donald Trump. When he's not, when he's wherever he is, in Ottawa, Toronto, wherever, whatever press photo op that he's on, he talks tough. But as of late, the talk has been less tough. Last week, I believe it was October 16th, Mark Carney was in town promoting some sort of liberal talking point propaganda. It's irrelevant to me. But when he was in Toronto, he actually stopped by Doug Ford's house over in Ford Nation off Royal York and the Westway area. I don't know exactly where Doug Ford lives, and I don't want to know. That's all I need, is to go by his house and get picked up on facial recognition. Then I'll have CSIS, lowering special operators into the roof of my house at 2 in the morning. So yeah, I don't care where Doug Ford lives. But why would Mark Carney go by his house? Like, why couldn't they meet at Queen's Park to discuss whatever, clandestine skullduggery they're up to? Back, I think it was in July, when they had the Premier's retreat up in Muskoka. I believe they had it at Deerhurst Resort. I just found this out, but it was common knowledge, but I just found it out that Mark Carney slept over at Doug Ford's cottage up there. They had a fireside chat. Now, I'm assuming Doug Ford, this was prior to the Crown Royal plant being announced that it was moving bottling operations out of... how you doing, buddy? Is that a white boxer?
Dogo.
Oh, it's a Dogo Argentino. How you doing, buddy? So this was prior to, I think it was the parent company's Diageo announcing they're going to stop the bottling of Crown Royal. So I'm assuming Dougie Ford didn't pour any Crown Royal out by the fireplace, or his cottage would have burnt down. But, they got a buddy-buddy relationship. We know that. Like too buddy-buddy, too cozy. We all know that Doug Ford didn't even remotely promote Pierre Poilievre's run for Prime Minister. In fact, he did the opposite, slandering his campaign manager and the direction that his campaign went. I don't think it's much of a surprise to anyone this day and age that Doug Ford is indeed a liberal, and he's been got to one way or another. Whatever way they did to get to him, they got to him. So don't be mistaken. This relationship that would appear for the person that isn't educated in what's going on in this country, it would appear that Doug Ford is antagonizing Donald Trump and Donald Trump's team down there in the U.S., but it's all orchestrated. The communication that Doug Ford puts out is directed from Ottawa, which in turn is directed from the WEF and a lot of Chinese influence. So Mark Carney's not the Prime Minister of this country. Okay, he's not. He was installed. It was a rigged election. The mainstream media, or the communist stream media in this country, is bought and paid for hugely. All these people in the media, what kind of job is this? There's B and C list actors that couldn't make it, and they've carved out a career for themselves, a high-paying career, and they're going to hold on to that high-paying career at any means necessary. And they are on a slander campaign right now with Poilievre, actually saying that there's several conservative cabinet people that are thinking of crossing the line and going and joining the Liberals. So they got that propaganda campaign going, and that's associated with Pierre Poilievre coming out and saying the way that the RCMP handled the SNC-Lavalin case was despicable. He didn't say the RCMP was despicable, but more or less he said the upper brass that handled it was despicable, and he's right. They work hand in hand with corruption in the Liberal government. So they're going off on that. So now look at the timing of this. Look at the timing of Trump saying that he's halting all trade negotiations with Canada. Now there is probably going to be a snap election over the Liberals' budget. The Liberals' budget is preposterous. It is, I don't know what it is. It's going to be like $80 billion. run an $80 billion deficit, where I think Polyev wants like a $42 billion deficit. There's a very good chance that the budget isn't going to pass through the House. So now Trump puts out the coup d'etat. No more negotiations with that filthy Canadian neighbor up north. Now, this is going to be used and embellished to the highest and fullest extent by turnip head Dougie Ford and by that lizard Mark Carney. They are going to push this so hard during the upcoming election. These elbows up, disillusioned people are going to fall for it again. They're going to fall for it again, and not even so much fall for it again. People are, obviously. They're never going to change. They're never going to revert and say they've been wrong with regards to Mark Carney. They're never going to do that. Like I said, they're ushering in communism. So they're staying the course. But what it will do, it will convince all the other sheep that can't critically think for themselves. It will provide comfort, or it's an illusion for them to accept Mark Carney being installed again after the next election. Donald Trump's got to be, Donald Trump's killing Canada. Donald Trump. Look what they did to Ontario. Look what they did to Doug Ford, putting out that $75 million doctored ad campaign by Ronald Reagan. Even the Ronald Reagan Foundation or Ronald Reagan Library put out a statement saying the same thing. It was altered. And they're looking at legal action against Doug Ford and the province of Ontario and the government of Canada. So, but listen, don't get me wrong here. This is all planned out, okay? This is just to cause more of a diversion. This is just to stir up more shiny key nonsense. So, Donald Trump, Mark Carney, Doug Ford, they're all in it together. Mark Carney and Doug Ford are parceling off the more attractive aspects of Canada with regards to our natural resources, minerals, any sort of technology. They're giving it to Trump. Now, the problem Trump has is China. Now, China is heavily infiltrated in our country, and more importantly, at all levels of our government, big time. So, I have to honestly believe that Donald Trump does not want anything to do with China. But I could be wrong on that too. I could be wrong on that. Trump could be doing the same thing down in the States that Carney's doing, but I don't think so. I think that Trump doesn't have the power he thinks he has, but he still yields a lot of power. So Trump's gonna take what Canada has to offer, then China's gonna get the rest. Now, the problem being for Trump is, how can he have a country that is controlled like Canada by China? How can he have that so close to his borders? Like, from a military standpoint and for a state security standpoint, I don't see where this is possible. So I don't know how it's all going to play out. I really don't. But I do know, well, I don't know, but my opinion, and I got a strong opinion of it, is Trump, Carney, and Ford, and whoever else is corrupted from a political standpoint and from an industry standpoint in this country is working together to sell off this country, my country, Canada. So, if you got any questions, comments, or concerns, or further information, of course, please leave it in the comment section, and I will try to get back to you. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for watching. Bye.